Okay. Hi, good morning. I am super glad to be here under what looks like normal conditions. It's one of those mornings where I wake up and my mind is awake, but my body isn't quite there yet. I'm having one of those mornings. My body isn't quite there yet. But I'm here. And this is going to be one of the shorter lives because I really just want to say real quick, right? Stop chasing the drama. You know, something that I've seen a lot on, especially on socials, is oh, I'm the drama, I'm the moment, I'm the noise and the chaos and the energy. And I mean, that's beautiful for you, but if that's who you are, right? And you enjoy that. But there are also people who chase the drama. There are also people who I need to stop rubbing my eyes. There are people who chase the drama. There are people who chase the noise. There are people who chase the action. There are people who chase the stress. And what that means is, even when there is nothing to fight about, they are going to sow dissension. They are going to make a lot of noise. They are going to be loud about their feelings. They are going to be, you know, and it stopped chasing the drama. And this is why we also want this excitement when it comes to the things of God. I said I was going to stop rubbing my eyes. We want this excitement when it comes to the things of God. We want God to move with us in a very dramatic way. We want to witness signs and wonders for everything. You've prayed for something, you're quietly waiting, trusting that it will happen, but you are not hoping that it happens, you know, you're not hoping that it just happens. You're hoping that it shakes the earth, that when it drops, when you take a step, it goes bang. You're hoping that when something happens, everywhere trembles, And I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing, but I'm saying that we need to stop being thrill seekers. And it might be because in today's world, we are exposed to a lot of dopamine. We're exposed to a lot of noise. We're exposed to a lot of activity. And so we're constantly looking for excitement. And it's great. It's great to be excited. Excitement is beautiful, especially because life can be life in so much that the excitement will be a welcome change. But I'm saying rather than have a lived experience where your excitement is based on happenstance. You can have a lived experience where your excitement is a constant joy, the kind of present type, the type that is not overwhelming or raising your heart rate all the time, right? But let me not even stray because my point is actually to focus on being in the quiet, is to focus on the peace of it, is to focus on peace. There's a song I love. There's a point where I was playing it like, I don't know, I play that song way too much. It's called Shalom, Peace. And in that song, one of the ministers singing, she says that Shalom, peace, that peace is a place in the spirit. It's why Jesus is called the Prince of Peace, because peace is a territory. You can have a prince, you can have royalty or a ruler for something unless that thing is a territory. So peace is a territory in the spirit. There is a place where you have peace, and that peace is enough to silence the need for noise and drama. We are so addicted to dramatics, especially in this generation. We're so addicted to noise, we're so addicted to action and excess energy, and lots of sound and lots of colors. If they're not like 4 or 5 colors, it can't hold our eyes. If there's not a lot of noise and a lot of energy, a lot of excitement, your attention isn't gonna be grabbed. We're so addicted to that in this generation. And because of that, we miss the things that God is doing a lot, because God is not a shouter. I've said this before on this channel. For every point where you see God move in a loud, dramatic way, God is trying to get somebody's attention. But after that, He has often spoken to them in the quiet of the night, early in the morning before day broke, in the early hours of the morning. Always. Oftentimes, these people are, on a mountain, secluded somewhere. They are somewhere staring at the sky or the stars in David's case. But it was always that. It wasn't dramatic. Yes, there were times that God had to show up in the dramatic, especially with the children of Israel. There are times that He's shown up, magnificently. But more often than not, and this is how you check it, you check with the frequency of it. More often than not, when God would speak, when God would move, when God would, He would just do His thing. And so this is why you cannot be waiting for drama. You cannot be in the drama. You cannot take your dopamine addiction. First of all, you need to get rid of dopamine addiction. We all need to. I mean, at some point I was someone who would have 3 screens on while working. I mean, I'm using the one screen. Let's even say like expertise and all. I'm working with 2 screens. Then I have a third screen showing something and I'm dividing my attention. I realized that was very unhealthy. And it was a struggle to get back to working with just one screen. Because there's so much addiction to noise and drama. There's so much addiction. We constantly want our brains to be fired up. We constantly want our minds to be distracted. But for the sake of your spirit man, for the growth of your inner man, you're going to have to step away from all of that. You're going to have to come to a place where you can stay in the silence. I've spoken about this before on the podcast. You need to be able to stay in the silence. You need to be able to stay in the silence. You need to be able to enjoy the mundane things. Because more often than not, this is where God will speak to you. More often than not, this is where you hear the voice of God. When you listen to people tell their stories or their encounters, they don't say that, oh, I was somewhere and then thunder struck and then the earth shook. No, they say, I just heard in my heart. I just heard. If you are constantly bombarded with noise, how will you hear in your heart? How will you see what God is saying? How will your spirit man grow? How will you be able to sit and meditate? And now it's why people are paying, lots of money. The meditation, mindfulness industry is a very, very lucrative one. People are paying so much money for yoga and meditation to learn how to meditate. But you first need to get used to being in the silence, to embracing the peace and quiet. My favorite scripture to reference for this is with the prophet, right? Where he was just sure, it's like, you know what, I'm gonna die. It's time for me to go. It's time for me to go. And he went somewhere, he went to see because he wanted to see God, and God had told him to go out and stand before him. And so this guy went out. I'm just going to read it because I said we're not going to paraphrase scriptures anymore. Right. So I'm reading I was going to read the NLT, but somehow I feel like I should just read the OG and KJV. So in this scripture, Elijah had been through a lot, right? He's like, I have been zealous. I have been serving. And this is how we can feel. We get to that place, overwhelmed by life. Everything, I have done everything right. I have pulled my weight as a child of God. I have preached the message. I have touched life. I have encouraged people. I have done things I'm supposed to do. And even now, I'm still fighting for my life. And he's making this rant. And the Lord is like, you know what? Go stand on the mountain before the Lord. So let me read from this is First Kings 19, right? And this is from verse 11. I'm gonna read from verse 11. Then he said, and this is the Lord, Go out and stand on the mountain before the Lord. And behold, the Lord passed by, and a great and strong wind tore into the mountains and broke the rock in pieces before the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind. And after the wind, an earthquake. But the Lord was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake, a fire. But the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire, a still small voice. So it was when Elijah heard it that he wrapped his face in his mantle and went out and stood in the entrance of the cave. Suddenly a voice came to him and said, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" And he said, "I have been zealous for the Lord God of hosts because of the children of Israel. They've forsaken your covenant, turned down your altars, and killed your prophets with the sword. I'm left alone, and they seek to take my life." Then the Lord said to him, this is the point I'm trying to make. We're constantly expecting the Lord to move in the wind, and to move in the earthquake, and to move in the rain, in the fire. Imagine that. A wind, an earthquake, and fire just sounds like a volcanic eruption. And we're expecting that every time, a volcanic eruption. When you want to hear God, you want a big wind to blow into your room and the curtains shake. But God doesn't have to do all. Why do we think? Let me not say why do you. Why do we think that God needs to do a performance to reach us? It's because we are already used to seeing that. And that's the heart of man. Because as a person, before you are moved to help another person, you need to see a video of them crying, weeping, and telling you the story of their lives. So because of that, we live in a system where people constantly need to prove themselves. And we've brought that expectation to God. God needs to prove himself. He needs to prove himself with a mighty wind. You need to hear a quaking. There needs to be a strong, oftentimes when we talk about God, even when we depict God in our stories, we depict a deep voice, a strong voice. But for Moses and for Elijah, those two times when God was speaking to them, it was a still small voice. It was not a loud roaring in their head. It was a gentle voice. So if you are constantly looking for the drama, chances are that even when the Lord is speaking to you, you will miss it because you are used to noise. Because the only thing that speaks to you is loudness. You will miss gentle talk. You will miss the still small voice. If you continue to look for noise and dramatics, you will miss the still small voice. So, what's my point? What am I trying to say? Because, like I said, this is going to be a short live. I'm trying to say, enjoy quiet, enjoy moments of silence, enjoy just staying, enjoy silence. Stay away from noise. Stop engaging every time. And this noise, I've said this a lot in these lives. I mean, we're like what? 3, 4 months on now in the lives, and I've said constantly that the noise doesn't only have to be sound, it can be visuals. Noise can be a picture I'm staring at. In fact, sometimes noise is I have a board here and I have so many notes and post-its and reminders on this board because of all the things that I have to get done. And noise sometimes can be these things because I'm looking at the things I have to get done so much that I'm not listening to what the Lord wants me to do right now. Noise can be your emotions, because again, I am the drama. I am the drama. Noise can be your emotions. It can be how you're feeling. How you're feeling can make you deaf to what God is saying. I gave an example yesterday of a personal experience where because I was angry, I heard clearly to sing a song while I was ministering in church because I serve in the choir. I heard clearly to sing a song. Because I was angry, I did not sing it. Somebody else sang and they sang a lot of songs but when the minister came, the minister that was invited to speak, the confirmation for me was that the minister sang that song. And there was an instant call out in my spirit, you should have sang that song. But because I was angry, I did not. The noise in this case was my emotions. Anything can be noise to you. It can be the voice of your loved ones. These people love you, they want the best for you, but they are leading you astray with their counsel. Sometimes it can be that. So when I say ignore the noise or avoid the noise, I'm saying everything that stops you from hearing the voice of God properly is noise, and you have to stay away from it. And this is why you cannot love drama. This is why you cannot, in the heat of your emotions, whether you are hot or cold, you cannot call somebody to talk to before talking to the Lord. The Lord should not be a last resort. Talking to God, unburdening to God, praying about it should never be a last resort. Something happens, something gets to you, something occurs, your go-to, let me pray about it. Let me talk to God about this. When that is done, and it seems like it's unclear what to do, then you can now look for people who you reckon have the right mind, the right standing, the right beliefs, and speak to them. But people should never, talking to people before talking to God should never be the first point of call. And if talking to God is your first point of call, then you are not looking for wind. You are not looking for, there's scripture say you will not see rain, you will not see wind, but the valley shall be full. This means that the valley gets full, it gets filled up quietly. Is that somehow, without rain, without any actions showing that there is a filling of the valley, water is entering into the valley. And so you must reckon that there are other ways by which things can happen that don't have to be spectacular. Spectacular things can happen in ordinary ways. We need to stop being, dopamine crazed, even for the things of God. In fact, that's the place where you don't need dopamine. You will get excitement, but it will be the healthy kind, the type that doesn't always shock your brain and fry your brain synapses. It will be the kind that makes you feel good, but quietly good. Oh, I love that song. I'm just gonna recommend it to anybody who wants to listen. It's called Shalom by T.Y. Bello. It's a like a chant and exhortation mix. It's such a powerful song because the minister, Isi Benega, I hope I'm pronouncing her name right, explains in detail what peace can mean, the strength of peace. And she mentions that peace is a verb, it's an action word, it's an happening, it's happening in real time. And that, funny enough, it's always with T.Y. Bello's songs, right? There's another song about peace. And I hear it, I've said this, I've referenced this definition of peace a lot of time. And this definition of peace is given by Sinach, the minister Sinach. She says that we often think that peace is a calm, it's a quiet, it's a weak thing happening. But peace is not. I've said this before on the podcast. And how you know this is when the storm is raging, Jesus says, peace be still. And the storm calms down. And you need to reckon that it takes a lot of strength to stop a storm. Is that whatever force is stopping the storm is greater than the storm. And a storm is, a mighty thing, it's a strong thing. And so sometimes peace is the amount of strength it takes to stop a storm. So peace does not mean be weak. When I say embrace the quiet, when I say embrace peace, I'm not saying be weak or docile. I'm saying that there is a quietness in the amount of force you're exuding. It's not loud action, it's not loud drama. It's that you are exuding strength, but it's quiet. I always give the illustration of my grip because I grew up with boys. I grew up among boys. So, I'm one of those very strong girls, like very strong girls, presence and all. And I remember when we were growing up, even till now, I mean, my brothers work out, they are huge compared to me. It's not like they are huge men. Generally, they're like the average tall guy, but compared to me, they're huge, right? And there's something I'm known for amongst my brothers is my grip. So if I take something and I put it in this hand, I've referenced this so many times in this life. You cannot unlock my grip. It's gonna take a lot of effort to unlock my grip. I don't have much. I don't have the strength that they do. But I'm quietly sitting like this. And when we were younger, my mom used to wonder why we were dragging and yelling because I would just quietly sit like this. and they will drag and keep trying to, if you can unlock one finger, and then they unlock the thumb, but whatever is inside in this four doesn't, it can't, you can't unlock this, you can't unlock any other finger. And so they are and they're shouting. And my mom is always like, why are you guys always fighting? And she doesn't know what's going on. So my point for that illustration is strength can be quiet. It doesn't have to be loud. You don't have to grunt and breathe heavy to exude strength. You can do it quietly. It does not, peace is not a weak thing. Silence is not a weak thing. It's not always a weak thing. You can move in silence. You will not see rain, you will not see wind, but the valley shall be filled. So this means water is just quietly flowing, 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 and then the valley becomes a stream. Then it becomes a river, and it's just flowing quietly. It's not in a rush of water, it's not a tidal wave, nothing. But the valley shall be filled. So, the point I'm trying to make today is we need to step away from that need for loudness, that need for noise, that need for a lot of action. God is not a go. If you do Yoruba movies, you will know what I just said. God is not a go. There's action there, but He's not gonna every time move like this, the way you want Him to. He's gonna do His thing the way He wants to. And sometimes that will look like nothing to you. In fact, sometimes that will look like Joseph's case, 10 years plus in prison. Sometimes it will look like Moses, 40 years plus in another land, building a family, someone who grew up in a palace. And it was a fugitive at this point. It will look like a lot of things. It does not mean that nothing is happening. In Elijah's case, it was that while he was thinking, I'm the only one, God was like, there's 7,000 others like you. In Elisha's case, it was them being surrounded. His servant was like, oh, it don't be for us. It don't be. We are done. And it was like, let Lord open his eyes. And those that were around him, they were more than those that had come to fight him. Do you know what that means? It means that there was no sound of chariots or horses, but Elisha was surrounded by a large army, larger than the army of the king. God does not need to announce what he's doing for him to be doing it. And if he's going to speak to you, he's not going to shout. He doesn't need to raise his voice for you to hear him. So you are the one who will embrace the silence. You are the one who will leave drama and leave colors and leave noise and let God speak to you in the simple moments. I was talking about this to a friend, and she was unburdening to me. Oh my gosh. She was, hey, my device is about to go off. It seems. I hope it doesn't. Right? She was unburdening to me, and she was talking about how she wanted a word from God. Right? And she was like, I've been telling God to speak to me all day. I'm not hearing anything. I'm not seeing anything. And I was like, yeah, I knew that was going to happen. I knew that was going to happen. I'm going to have to turn off my backlight. I don't have power today. So, it's tricky. Yeah. And she was like, I've been waiting for God to speak to me. I just turned off one of the backlights. I think that works. That's fine. I had two backlights before. So I don't have power. I'm using batteries. I'm using my inverter, and it's not very charged. It's not charged a lot. I don't know. The English has gone. I was startled just now. Anyways, oh my gosh. This cannot be happening, guy. I want to round up. I gotta go. I could see that the power was low, to be honest. I knew that was happening. So to just round up, right? So my friend was saying that she wanted God to speak to her. He wasn't speaking to her. She wanted God to speak to her. He wasn't speaking to her. And it's changed so much. This is why I need the backlight. The quality is so different with backlight. Anyways, and she was like, God has not told me anything. I'm like, you're trying, is there a certain way, like, are you expecting that God is going to do certain things to talk to you? I was like, well, even if it's just, like something in my heart, a song. And I'm like, no, you don't, God doesn't need to like give you a specific type of talking to. Just sit still and wait for what he will say. It doesn't have to be a voice in your head. It doesn't have to be, it could literally be you see a bird outside and it's really pretty. Because I've heard this testimony from another friend before. She saw a bird. It was really pretty. Really, it looked like it was wearing jewelry. And she was like, this is so pretty. And God was telling her, you see how I made that bird pretty, but somehow you doubt that I'll make your life pretty. And that was the message she needed. And it was not a dramatic thing. It was that she was in her room making clothes and the bed landed on her windowsill and that revelation came. We are the ones that are looking for drama and dopamine and excitement. You want to be, I suddenly felt like there was a wind in my room and then I got goosebumps and then, a breeze just blew across it just lifted everything slightly. Everything went up and came down in the room. I was like, God is here, God is here. That, that's what we're looking for. Most of the times, that's what we're looking for. We want an experiential experience, something that you can share, and people will be like, "Ooh!" That's what we're looking for. Leave drama alone. Leave drama. Leave drama. Stay in the mundane, in your everyday. I'm saying you're doing laundry, God can talk to you through that. You're doing the dishes, God can talk to you through that or there while you're doing the dishes. God is not looking for a time and place to talk to you. Unless he has said, separate yourself to me, he really will talk to you wherever you are. He will meet you wherever you are. And that's not a bad thing. It doesn't have to be dramatic. And, because it doesn't have to be dramatic, this is why Jesus could sleep in the middle of the storm. Because he's like, the storm is not a thing, it's not a factor. What's gonna happen? I'll say be still. I'll tell the storm to stop, it to stop. Like there was no doubt as to how this would play out for Jesus. He wasn't bothered. The people that were losing their minds were blinded by the drama. There is no way, I keep saying it, that I don't think, based on who I am now, and I understand for the disciples because they had not seen someone like Jesus before. But I couldn't have witnessed all those miracles and be angry that Jesus was sleeping. If I woke him up, it's not be, why are you sleeping when we are dying? I would say, I know that you can do something about it. Please do something about it. I'm a delegator. I'm the kind of person that identifies people's strengths and immediately puts them to work based on their strengths. So, okay, I was frozen for a bit. I think I'm back. It's a place you constantly have to be in, where you are not chasing the high, you're not chasing the drama, you're not chasing the action. What you're looking at is God, and you're waiting on him to hear it. And you're not looking for an experience. Keep it open. Approach this thing with open-mindedness. God, please speak to me. And you just stay. I said there was a period where God was training a habit out of me, right? So I'm a writer. My profession, my core competence is storytelling. And so one of the biggest ways I do that is writing. I'm a writer. And so what that means is I can come up with a million and one scenarios in my head. Just I'm sitting idly and scenarios are literally scrolling around in my brain. And so when I pray for something, or before, when I prayed for something, I would apply myself to imagining how it would happen. And the first few times I imagined it will happen like this, it happened like that. It will happen like this, it happened like that. And then after that, it kind of became my habit. So I would pray and then try to predict how it would happen with my imagination. And at some point, there was now one day it will happen, right? There was one day it did not happen like that. It happened a different way. God's way. I got upset about it. Like I got not angry, just like puffed up, like me, I was expecting this way. Now, why didn't you do it this way? Like, that kind of puffed up. After that, what began to happen is anything I imagine, no matter how simple or base, no matter how dramatic. So before it used to be, no matter how dramatic it was, it will happen. Now, even if it's the simplest thing, it doesn't happen. It happens God's way. Every prayer, the prayers get answered, yes, but they never get answered the way that I anticipate. And I had to grow into being okay with that. And now, well, now I'm okay with that. Because before I wasn't. Before it was just like, I expected this, I expected this. We always want something that will just make us feel good, feel, like I'm the main character in this. And relax, leave the drama, quietly embrace what God is doing. That scripture I always talk about, the unforced rhythms of grace, is rhythmic, it's free flowing. Embrace it. Let God work on you, work with you, work in you to his glory. That's all I came to say today. That's all I came to say today. You know, yeah, just embrace the quiet, embrace peace. Peace is strong. Peace can be silent, but it's not weak. So embrace peace. Peace can be silent, but it is not weak. It is not weak. If it was weak, peace be still would not still the storm. If it I'm mixing my words. Yeah, peace can be silent, but it's not weak. If peace was weak, peace would not still a storm. I mean, the faith of the person saying it matters, but peace can literally still a storm. So yeah, embrace peace, embrace the quiet, embrace the silence. That's all I came to say today. And if this brought anything to your remembrance, if you were encouraged by this in any way, if you were strengthened, if you were reminded of something, then I'm blessed already, because that's why I do this. And I do this every day between the hours of 6:30 to 7:30 a.m. Navigating our technical issues with grace. We're making it work. However, it works. It's working. I'm grateful to God. Um, yeah, and I'll see you tomorrow morning. Have a blessed day. Bye. Mm.